The age-old question is, how do you safely pop a pimple? I think the short answer to this is there is no safe way to pop a pimple. A pimple itself can cause scar even if you don't squeeze it. However, if you squeeze it and traumatize the skin, you for sure will get some pigmentation or even scarring. So I'm gonna share my 4 steps for how to more safely pop a pimple, okay? So the first step I think we all are aware of, which is cleaning. How do you clean the skin? Now, some people do use alcohol. I don't love alcohol for skin because it does traumatize the skin. Alcohol is extremely abrasive and causes a lot of little micro tears in the skin, which make the skin more prone to infection in the long term. So what are the things that I use? Very simply, you can actually use a little bit of soap and water, or there is a product called hypochlorous acid. It comes in a spray, very easy to get, doesn't smell noxious, and it also cleans extremely well without damaging the skin. So hypochlorous spray is something that we use in the clinic all the time, but certainly before you pop a pimple, it is fantastic to use. You can spray it either directly on the skin or onto a piece of gauze and do a gentle dabbing over the area before you pop a pimple. So step 1 is cleaning. Step 2 is removing the top of that pimple. And when I say pimple, I do mean whiteheads. Blackheads itself you can jump to step 3. However, step 2 is oftentimes really important because that blackhead is a cap on your comedone. Comedone is that clogged pore. And if you squeeze against that cap and there's pressure, you actually cause more damage and inflammation. Why this is important is because if you don't remove that cap and you squeeze, the contents can actually be squeezed downward because of the pressure on of the cap and holding it back. Okay, so removing the top is really important. Now, how do you remove the top? The most common method that people know about is taking a little sterile needle and popping the top. Now, it's really difficult to sterilize a needle at home, which is why we always recommend getting it done by an esthetician or in a clinic because we use sterile needles. They are one-time use and they get tossed. So just be aware that the safest way is to get it done professionally. However, if you're popping your pimple at home, know that you should sterilize the needle. The needle you can dip in alcohol. I know people sometimes also burn it in a flame. However you want to do it, just know that when you do pop a pimple with the needle, you don't have to go deep. You literally just have to introduce a little nick on the surface so that pressure is relieved from that whitehead. Third step is really the squeezing part. This is the part that people really love to do, but this is also the most dangerous part because this is the part that can cause that scarring. So how do you squeeze a pimple? There are a lot of tools that are online that you can get to pop a pimple. The most common one is a loop extractor. These are comedone extractors that have a little wire loop at the tip. The way to use this is not to scrape or scoop because you can actually damage the skin. It's actually to press gently down around the pimple to allow the symmetrical expression of the contents of that zit to the surface rather than deep. Now, the danger to this is that if the pimple is larger than that loop, you can actually squeeze that cystic content deeper into the skin. And that's when you get that big old inflammation the day after that can last for a couple weeks. And then that will lead to scarring, okay? So there's no real safe way to do it. Certainly using the loop extractor can be a lot safer than using your fingers because you don't have a 360 application of pressure. And so you are for sure going to cause differential pressure going up and down as well as left and right. And that will cause more inflammation, okay? Now, one of the things I really do like are the ultrasonic extractors, and I've seen them called shovels or kind of other terms, or spatulas. Those I actually really do like, for pimples that are really ready to come out. Even the ultrasonic spatula, as you go over it, can actually take off that top layer without putting too much pressure on the pimple itself. I actually really do like this. Oftentimes, if a whitehead doesn't pop, if you just run the ultrasonic spatula over it, it's probably not ready to come out. Don't be tempted to squeeze every single whitehead because if you just waited 6, 8, 12, 24 hours, oftentimes those will be a lot easier to extract once they're mature. Okay, so just be cautious, just know there's no direct way, that sometimes the professional is the best way to go about it. However, if you don't have access to a professional and you have some at-home tools, apply pressure gently, evenly, and don't force it. Not every pimple actually can come out. So if something does not have a whitehead and you just feel this deep cyst, those your body can actually resorb on its own without coming out. So don't feel like everything needs to come out to the surface. Your body can oftentimes take care of it. The last step is really important. People always kind of skip this one, is actually cleaning again. use your hypochlorous spray, spray it on the surface, and then you can apply a little bit of Vaseline or Aquaphor, something lightly occlusive to help prevent bacterial infection and to help with the wound healing process. The extractions are actually quite damaging to the skin, and so you do need a healing topical for this. And if you have any questions about that, please do ask your dermatologist or esthetician, and so they can help you with the recovery process if you decide that you do want to squeeze your own pimple at home. Hope this is helpful. For more videos, subscribe.